we're not living in the places where we have all the animals around us. But in the old days, a lot of the people live in places, we have to go to the farmland areas. But the Gemara talks about all different types of situations on a sukkah. A sukkah, for a sukkah to be kosher, a sukkah has to have, so I want to remind everyone, supposed to say Birkat HaTorah before we start learning. For a sukkah to be kosher, you have to have a minimum of 3 walls. The walls, if you don't have 3 walls, it's not kosher. Also needs to be a certain minimum height. The sukkah has to be a minimum of 10 tefachim high. The walls from the ground. So what is 10 tefachim high? 10 tefachim is about anywhere between 30 and 40 inches high. So let's be strict. The wall has to be 40 inches high. 40 inches is 3 feet plus 3, a little over 3 feet. So the question is, can I use an animal as a wall of the sukkah? Let's say the animal has a height of 10 tefachim. Animals from the ground is 40 inches high. So now the question, can I use an animal as a wall? The Gemara's going to talk about where the animal running. What do you mean? Maybe the animal's going to run away. Maybe people, you're not going to realize you're inside the sukkah. You might not realize the animal's going to run away. The Gemara's going to talk about an animal that's actually tied up. Can you use this animal as a wall? Meaning you have schach on top, and the Gemara's going to ask, but isn't there, there's a space from the bottom of the animal to the ground? So therefore, it's not going to be a good wall if there's a space. The Gemara's going to address that issue, and the area of a sukkah has to be 7. The minimum size of a sukkah, 7 tefachim by 7 tefachim, could be 28 inches by 28 inches. So if you have the width of the animal, 28 inches is a little over 2 feet. An animal, definitely, if the wall has to be, let's say you have to have a wall, you have to have the inside of this box has to be, let's say here, this from here to here is what about 1.5 feet from here to here? It might be 2 feet. I think it's less than 2 feet. Whatever. So therefore, it has to contain an area that you can have a small sukkah that's just big enough for you to sit down, have most of your body and your head in the sukkah, and a little table. So the width of the animal would be the proper size, the width of the sukkah. So you would have the same way if I would have a wall that's 28 inches going this way, and a wall 28 inches going this way, wall 28 inches going this way, 28 inches this way. So the animal, the length of the animal would be a 28 inch, at least 28 inches. So therefore, the Gemara says the dimensions of the animal to serve as a wall should be good. So what's the issue? Can you use an animal as a wall or not? So that's what the Gemara is going to discuss here on 23. The guy's stuck. He's traveling with his animal. He wants it, now it's nighttime, he wants to make a sukkah. And now he wants to say, can I just use my animal as one of the walls? And if I have multiple animals, can I use multiple animals as my wall? So that's the Gemara's issue here in Masechta Sukkah on 23a, 23a2. It starts on the first line on the bottom. If I made the animal a wall for the sukkah. So let's take a look. It's 23a2 in the art scroll. It's right over here. Okay. So what's the halach? Adam, I got two. I say Adam, I get 2 Adams in the deal. We have 2 Adams at the class here today. Adam, you have it?
Yeah, I was just reviewing a little bit.
Okay. So the Gemara says there's a machloket. Machloket between Rav Meir posel, Rabbi Yehuda machshir. Rav Meir says it's pasul, and Rabbi Yehuda says it's kosher. Rabbi Yehuda says there's no problem of making the behemoth. Good morning, Mr. Bitesh. Reb Yehuda and he's the chidush, and he's the novelty, and there's a letter on top of the word machshir, which would seem to indicate that would be the halacha, that Mr. Bitesh was talking about a guy's desperate, or the guy wants to make it easy for himself. Let's say he's making a sukkah. Let's say he stopped over somewhere. He wants to set up, he wants to eat in a sukkah. And so he needs a minimum of 3 walls. Can he use his animal as one of the walls? An animal. He has a nice animal, he has a nice cow, or he has a nice horse. Let's say he has a horse. He's traveling, he has a horse. Let's say he was traveling horse and buggy. And now can I use my horse as one of the walls of the sukkah? So you have a machloket. There's an argument in the Gemara. And the Gemara is going to clarify the case. What's the situation that you want to possibly use this animal, live with the animals? What's the case that you use this animal? So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda Machshir. Rabbi Yehuda says on 23a2 on the right side, the top of the page. So why Rabbi Yehuda? Who says kosher? Now the Gemara first explains Rabbi Yemeir. Yemeir says, Yemeir says there's something wrong with having a live animal as a wolf. What's the reason? He says, and the Gemara is now going to enumerate different situations, different cases where a person might want to use a live animal, and Yemeir says it's no good. You can't use a live animal for certain things. Shahira Yemeir would say, Kol davar sheyesh bo ruach hayim. Any item that has life to it, ein osin oto lo dofen l'sukkah. You can't make it for a wolf or a sukkah. Adam, if you want to send to the group that we're on, you can't make it for a wolf or a sukkah. Lo lechi lemavui. And let's say a mavui, let's say you have an alleyway that has three walls. So it's a private area. But the members of the courtyard use that alleyway. It has some similarity to a public area. And you don't want people to go from the alleyway into the public property. So you do certain things. Either you put up a korah, you put up some string or some surat petzach, something that looks like a private area, put up a string with some sideboards, or there's something called a korah, a lechi, you put up a certain side post, a certain board. And that would also serve. The people should realize now this is a separate area, this is a private area. You can't use this animal to be this lechi, this side post, this board by the entranceway of the alleyway. You can't use a live animal, lechi lemavui, v'lo pasim to be royal. Now the pasim to be wrote that the rabbis made a certain leniency. Because people, when they would travel, let's say to the Beit HaMikdash, they would go, let's say, now we're almost by Sukkot time. There's a mitzvah 3 times a year to go to Ola Regel. And now if you're traveling, and then you have, let's say you stopped in honor of the Shabbat, you're on your way to Beit HaMikdash, you have your animals to feed, to water. And it's Shabbat, and let's say the well is has a certain depth to the well, and it has a certain, let's say there's walls by the well. The well is, let's say, down, you have to lower your bucket down to get into the well, and the well could be considered like a private area, and it has certain dimensions and a certain width and has a certain height, and now you want to take from the well to you're on top in the public property, and you want to go ahead and draw water for your animal. But the issue is you're going to be taking from a private area, well, which could have the dimensions of a private area, and you want to take it into public property where you're above the ground and you're in a public area. So you can't carry on Shabbat from a private domain to a public domain, or from public domain to a private domain, or even within a public domain, you can't carry 4 amot, 6 to 8 feet, unless you have an eruv. The eruv, but here, the eruv here we're talking about an eruv is not. Eruv can help you carry in public area. That makes it that eruv is that it's all considered like a private area, but the pit on the ground is private, and the public. What do you do over there? So, So what you do is over there. I mean, if it's possible also if if it will be a situation that Eruv would help, Eruv would help. We're talking about a place with no Eruv. We're talking about a place you can't, in a place that you can't make an Eruv. But pretty much this is considered a public property on a Torah level. So the rabbi said, you could make certain, you could take certain boards with a certain width, and let's say you have there's a nice picture over here. Imagine 4 corners. Imagine, let's say there's a pit right in the middle, right in the center of this table is the pit, right? So here's the pit. The pit's right here. And I make on this corner, I put 2 boards, this corner 2 boards, this corner 2 boards, this corner 2 boards. So now it's not a real wall. These are not real walls because there's all the space between this corner and that corner and that corner and that corner. So it's not real wall. If I would go ahead and surround the pit with walls around it, if there's a pit in the middle, I put walls all across. Of course, that would make it a private property. But I didn't make proper walls. But what I did was on all 4 sides, I created some sort of a certain height, some certain dimensions of something way, and a board going the other way. So a board going this way and a board going this way. And that on a Torah level, that's the fact that you have all these, the 4 corners have these boards set up, even though it has all the space in between, it would be considered private. And we have to see more details about that. But, and the rabbis allowed this type of structure in order to enable the people to feed the animals on Shabbat, to draw water on Shabbat. And that if you create this type of corners, each of the 4 corners, you place these certain boards with a certain size, that will make the area, that will close off the area in a certain sense, and therefore that closes off the area. Therefore, it's considered private. Therefore, you could carry from the well, you could draw the water from the well up to in the middle. You have the well over there, and you draw the water because it's considered now, this whole place, this whole area is considered now private property. Now, the question is, usually you make boards to serve as this in the corners. But the question is, he says you can't use an animal to serve as one of those boards that you use. You want to use structure at the corners. You can't make an animal as being one of those pasim. So that's what he's the little pasim libira'ot. You can't use the animal to act as a partition around the pit. Okay, is that clear, everybody? Okay. How does the Eruv is it? Right. So Eruv is something that you could create in an area where the public domain is rabbinically forbidden. There's certain domains, certain streets that on a Torah level you can't carry. That street you can't make an Eruv. But there's certain streets that the only prohibition is rabbinic. The rabbi said these streets resemble a public property. You can't carry, but the rabbi said, but if you make an eruv, where you show the people that this place is unique. Good morning, Sammy. Good to see you. You too. Good year for everybody. Sammy, we got Adam's father joined us today.
Nice to see you. Pleasure. Come every day.
He runs the slichut of the 7:30 minyan, 6:30. Yeah. So an eruv is something that allows us to carry from private property to public property, or within public property. That's the eruv. If we don't have an eruv, we wouldn't be able to carry. But eruv only works on an area that's classified as a place that min haTorah you could carry. Rabbinically, you can't carry. The Rabbanan said in that place you can't carry. But if you make an eruv, that would work. That would work. So the Gemara continues. V'lo golel lekaver. There's a certain status, the cover of if someone passed away, and they put something as the cover on the coffin, that cover has certain stringencies of contamination. That cover, if someone would carry that cover by itself, it would seem there's certain stringencies about that cover that is used as a cover for a dead body. You know, we know a dead body has very strict levels of contamination. It's like the highest level. Someone not only touches the dead body, someone carries the dead body without actually touching the body, carrying it without touching it, right? It also would become contaminated. Or someone's in the tent of a underneath a dead body. The dead body is above, let's say, and he's underneath the dead body, or in the room with it. So all those things would contaminate the person. So there's certain things about the cover of a dead body would also, if you touch the cover, you become contaminated. If you carry the cover, you become contaminated. And it seems like also if you come into the tent, I mean, we have to see more of the halachot, but it says be'ohel. If you become in the tent, that there's a cover from a dead body that's in the tent, and we have to see more halachot, that it would also have certain contaminant, like a dead body itself would contaminate. So there's certain stringencies about a cover that's used for a coffin, and this stringencies of the cover cannot apply if you use the animal to serve as the cover on the. And I don't know whoever to use an animal to serve as a cover on a coffin, but if for some reason you wanted to protect the coffin from the elements, from the rain, and you wanted to use the animal as a shelter for this dead body, so this animal does not get the status of this golel, does not get the status of the stringencies of this cover, whatever the stringencies we say for a cover of a dead body, it does not get those stringencies. And then Mishim Rabbi Shim Yosef Galili Omer, Af Ein Kosvin Alav Gitin Nashim. Let's say you want to write a very strange story that you want to write a bill of divorce. Person wants to divorce his wife, and we know to divorce one's wife, it takes has to write certain words in a, the common way we do it is by using a sefer, a piece of cloth, parchment. That's the way. That's the way you write it on it. And there's certain things you write. Harayat muteret kol adam. His name. It says his name. It says her name, and it says that through this, you're going to become permitted to marry anybody as a result of the bill of divorce, unless she's obviously she can't marry a kohen. The kohen can't marry a divorcee. But if you're going to write on the animal the text of what you want to use for divorce, you want to use the animal as the vehicle that you're writing on top of the animal. That wouldn't work. We'll have to see more in the Gemara about this. But you can't use a balei chayim, something that has life, to use as and the Gemara will explain. Rashi said all these things. Rashi says the Gemara going to explain what's the source, why I can't use this. The Torah says kasav alav. See, the Torah does say sefer kvisut. The Torah does say write it on a sefer, some sort of. But we'll have to see what the Gemara is going to say. We have to stay tuned. What's the issue by writing a get on a animal? Why it won't work? Okay, now the Gemara says, "My time of the Rameya." What's the reason, Rameya? Rameya says you can't use the animal, the live animal, as a wall for a sukkah. There's a dispute among the rabbis. The later rabbis are disputing what's the reason for the early rabbi. We have Rameya as an early rabbi. He's called a Tana. He's from the Mishnah time. And you have the Gemara, which is a later time period. So the later rabbis are disputing. You see, a lot of times the Mishnah is written in short form. It's not elaborated on. It's just basic law in general. So this or Mishnah or Braita. So that time period, the Tanaim period, many times they just said a law. And the later rabbis came to explain what's the reason behind that law and clarify their positions. So here we have a dispute between Abaye and Rav Zera. What's the reason for Rameya? Why does Rav Meir say you can't use an animal as a wall of a sukkah? What's the problem? Technically, you'll be able to use a wall, any material you can use for a sukkah. We never found that the walls of a sukkah are limited to any particular type of material. The only thing that we found about the walls, we know the Succah, as Mr. Vitesh is pointing up to the Succah, there's all these laws that the Succah, the cover of a sukkah, has to originate from the ground, like the bamboo came from the ground. It has to be something that doesn't receive contamination. We have many laws about the Succah, the cover from the sukkah. The walls, we haven't found any laws. It can be made out of metal, it can be made out of anything. The only thing we did find is that the wall should be able to withstand maybe a normal wind, right? If you put up a wall and it's not going to be able to withstand the normal wind, just blow down in a minute or two, that's not considered a real sukkah. And therefore, also, we know some people have these canvas sukkah, right? They make these, mobile, the canvas, whatever, cloth sukkah. So there you have to make sure that those canvas is tied down to the ground strongly. Not that it should be flapping back and forth. That will be a problem. You have to make sure the walls are sturdy. That it's not, you know what I'm talking about. So they see the wind is blowing. That's not done right. You have to make sure it's tied down very well. So Abaye Shema Tamut. Abaye says, I'm afraid the animal's going to die. If the animal dies, then it will lose maybe the height of the wall. Because let's say the height of the wall has to be a minimum of about 30 to 40 inches. That's when the animal's standing, it has that height. But when an animal passes away, animal dies, animal flops down, and no longer you have a proper height. You might not realize that, and you're going to be eating in the sukkah, which doesn't have the proper dimensions of the sukkah. Rav Zera Amar says, I'm afraid of a different problem. He's not afraid of that. Maybe he's not afraid the animals are going to die. You know what he's afraid of? Remember, sukkah is only a 7-day holiday. He's afraid maybe the animal's going to run away. Maybe Shema Tivrach. You have no wall. The animal's not there anymore. So the Gemara is going to ask, why, if he's worried about the animal's going to run away, why isn't the other rabbi worried about the animal's going to run away? It's a normal thing that an animal runs away. The Gemara is going to clarify. Tomorrow, stay tuned. Tomorrow, we're back at 6 o'clock. It goes like this, right? 1 second, Mr. Yochanan. And we just started the class. Feels like we just started the class, right? They say that time flies when you're having fun. It's 1, 2, 3. So we'll be back at 6 o'clock tomorrow. And I want to wish everyone a beautiful, Mr. Haber should be back tomorrow. And wish everyone eating fast today. And Rahim Tova. Sammy's getting ready